I do some of my best thinking in the shower. And I was thinking about why is that the case? I think this might be true for a lot of people, but for me, it's the only place where no one is bothering me. My mind seems to open up to new ideas. Instead of spinning and worrying about things, I start actually doing some really good critical thinking and planning. It's just a great place for me to get away. Today, I was thinking about safe spaces. For many people in this world, life feels like a huge pressure cooker right now. And for many of us over a certain age, that pressure cooker seems to be intensifying. We have career stress, aging stress, dealing with aging parents, and financial stress. And many of us have our own health issues to deal with. Many of us are at a place where we are just emotionally drained and exhausted. Now, if you hop on any social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, even YouTube, it appears that your friends and other family members have their lives all together, that everything is super happy, that they have no problems, no cares in the world. But I can tell you that that's not true. I had a really good call today with a relative of mine that I haven't spoken to in a couple of years. And we were just sharing stories about how we're feeling in this day and age, how we're feeling overwhelmed, kind of blah, that our anxiety level is sometimes through the roof. We tried to talk about things that were a little lighter, such as cooking and recipes. We talked about some of our childhood memories together, and that really helped. So, as I was thinking about all of the stress and the things going on in the world and in our own personal lives, I was thinking about all of the ways that we can find our safe spaces. Unbeknownst to me, I hadn't even realized this before. I've been creating safe spaces almost my entire life. I'm sure this is a coping mechanism, and I'm sure it's a coping mechanism that many of us have used throughout our lives. I wanted to share with you some of the things that I do and I have found that worked in terms of creating or going to my safe space. So, when I was a very small child, I made a lot of forts. And one of my favorite forts that I made always had like a blanket over the top of it, but I needed a light source inside. I've always been kind of obsessed with lamps and lighting. And so I had an old plastic pumpkin that I used to go trick or treating on Halloween. And I took a flashlight and I put it in the pumpkin, turned it on, and it created this really calming orange glow. I remember laying in my fort with the blanket serving as a roof, so it created a dark space. And I had this orange pumpkin light on, and I just laid there. I'm sure it wasn't very long because I was a kid and I got up to play again, but I laid there for a bit, just kind of feeling that calm wash over me, and it really felt cozy and safe. Fast forward a million years, and I'm a middle aged adult, and I still find that I do some similar things to create spaces that make me feel safe and cozy and secure. And it's not just about aesthetics, it's about being in an environment or a portion of my current environment that just makes me feel safe, kind of like a big hug. So, some examples of creating a safe space. There's a lot of readers out there, myself included, and a lot of people like to create little book nooks. Like they'll have a comfortable chair, a leather chair, a wingback chair. They'll have their books nearby on a bookshelf. They'll have a cozy lamp, and they like to spend time each day reading their book and just escaping the world. Another great place to create your safe space is in your car. So, as a teenager, when I got my driver's license, my favorite thing to do was to drive and crank up the 80s music. And I didn't even have a fancy car stereo. I think we had AM radio in our car and an FM converter so I could get the FM stations on. And it wasn't until I had my own money and my first real job and I bought my first car by myself that I was able to have a cassette deck in the car. And that's when I really enjoyed driving. I'd pop in my favorite cassette, crank it up, and just drive out in the country, drive anywhere where I could just have the music blasting, the windows down if it was a warm day. And it was so therapeutic and it felt so freeing, like I was escaping all of the problems that I thought I was having at that time. But even now, when I'm in my car and I have to drive somewhere, even if it's a short distance, I still like to have on good music that just kind of takes me to another place in time. Could be music from the 70s, could be music from the 80s. I love music with lots of harmonies like the Eagles or America. I even love John Denver music. And safe spaces aren't just about a physical location. It can also be a safe space for you emotionally. So sometimes we have to remove ourselves from emotional stress, whether we physically go somewhere or we, in our own mind, remove ourselves from that emotional stress. Right now, for me, just scrolling through social media too much causes me a lot of emotional stress. So to create a safe space away from that, I simply stay away from it. It's hard. It is hard. It's kind of like an addiction because I like to know what's going on. You know what's so frustrating is when you're on Facebook and you just want to see things that your contacts, your friends are doing, family photos, fun vacations, but you just get bombarded with all these other posts from third parties or ads, and it's taken away some of the fun and I think the original intent of what Facebook probably was meant to be. Nonetheless, even stepping away from social media, even if it's just for a short time, can be very helpful in lowering some of your emotional stress. And I would venture to say the longer we stay away from social media, the better off we will be. You know, it's not about isolation, it's about seeking solitude. So I watched a video today from a YouTube friend whose name is Miles, and I will link his channel down below. And Miles has stated that he loves solitude and he loves spending time out in nature and that big cities and crowds are overwhelming. And that's exactly how it is for me as well. So he was talking today in his video about a couple of things, photography being one, and how he was able to capture an image that best represented how he was feeling in the midst of being in a big crowd in a big city. And for him, a safe space is out in nature, out in the woods. And of course, that totally resonated with me because I feel exactly the same way. And again, it's not about isolation, it's about solitude. So, one of the things that Miles talked about was that it's really good to seek solitude. It's very healthy and it can do a lot for your soul. Some of the other things that I do to kind of calm myself or self-soothe, I guess you could say, is I'm a big candle purchaser, user, buyer, whatever. In the evening, I always have at least one large candle lit, not only for the scent of the candle, but for the look and just the ambiance. It just calms me down knowing that I have this candle lit and it's just creating a very cozy environment. Again, it's something so small, but I just find it very helpful. Another thing I do to remove myself from stress is take daily walks. Now, I have a little dog and he demands those walks every day, and I'm really glad he does. Although sometimes it's pretty hard in the cold winter, especially if it's too cold and his little paws can't handle it. But it definitely is invigorating, I'll say that. Now that the weather is getting a little bit nicer where I live and spring is just around the corner, I'm really looking forward to taking longer walks. One of the things I do when I walk is I'm always looking up and listening for birds. The robins are already out in my neck of the woods, which is kind of the first sign of spring. So, of course, when I'm walking, my mind is still going and I'm always thinking, but my thoughts are more positive. I'm not thinking about things that make me upset or stressed or angry. And I think that's just a byproduct of the fact that I'm out in nature and I'm observing nature. And again, that just kind of lowers my stress and it's another safe space for me to be. Another way to create an emotional safe space is a no work talk time frame in your home. I know for a fact that when my own family starts talking about the stresses of their work, especially like right before bed, it totally elevates my blood pressure. And I have to say, can we not talk about that? An important thing to do is to basically set up kind of boundaries and rules within your home or your family where there's a no work talk time, or people in your family understand that, you know, usually around this time of day or this time of evening, you just need to step away. You need your own time, whether you are going to go read quietly or you are practicing an instrument. or it's your time just to sit in a corner and light a candle and just kind of meditate or journal. There's just a lot of different things we can do that are not destructive, that are healthy, and that are good for our own well being and kind of self preservation. And so these are the things that I have found myself doing without even realizing I was doing it. And they have helped me deal with the chaos in the world. And when I do these things or get into my safe space, it's a way for me to kind of calm down, recharge, reset. And I just think that that is so important for everyone, no matter what age, what generation you're part of. So if you've created some really good safe space ideas on your own that I haven't mentioned or talk about, let me know in the comments below. And with that, I'm going to go to my safe space and play some guitar, followed by reading a book that I started yesterday. As always, thank you for watching. My name is Noelle, and I will talk to you soon.